Welcome to Shawn Conrad Unscripted. Real talk about life, hustle, and building the best version of yourself. Let's go.
We represent. Relax your mind if you're extra tense. Catch this bug like Spidey sense and bounce to the beat cause it's excellent. Excellent. We represent. Relax your mind if you're extra tense.
About 9 years ago, my mom was having like an okay year. Okay as in not so good. So one day she calls me from New York. I'm here in Atlanta and she lets me know that somebody hit her car. And I was like, wow, obviously I was like, are you okay? X, Y, and Z. And she said this guy came out of nowhere and hit her car and then knocked her front bumper off. She took a picture and she said police came and settled it and whatever, but the guy came out of nowhere. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, as long as you're okay. And then shortly after, maybe a couple months after, her dog that she had for a long time had to go to the vet and the dog got sick and they had to put the dog down. They had to put the dog down. So I called my mom from Atlanta. She's in New York by herself in her house. And she lets me know that the dog had to be put down. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, okay. And I decided, okay, you know what? I got to go to New York to see my mom because there's a lot happening. So I booked this flight. I go to New York and I arrive and I see my mom. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And as soon as I saw her, I noticed that she lost weight. And when you don't see people for a while, sometimes they look a little different than you have in your head, right? Like people have more gray hair than you have in your head, right? When you haven't seen them for a while or whatever. My mom, she lost weight. So I walk in the house and we're talking and X, Y, and Z. And I go in the refrigerator and I'm like, okay, some of this stuff needs to be thrown away. I need to clean out this refrigerator. So cleaned out the refrigerator and there was a couple things around the house, more than a couple, but there was some things around the house that just needed to be organized or put away or cleaned up. And I realized my mom's in this house and this is too much. She cannot manage this house by herself. You know what I'm saying? It just never occurred to me. Along with the car accident, her dog being put down, like she's by herself. So the day before I was getting ready to fly back to Atlanta, I was like, Mom, you know, you really need to be in Atlanta because to check on you, for me to check on you, book a flight, get here, travel from the airport, just to see if you're doing okay, you know, like that's a lot. You know, you should come to Atlanta, you know, things are good out there, X, Y, and Z. And my mom has always been like, I'm good, Shawn. I'm not moving to Atlanta, I'm good right here. She's always been that way. But when I asked her this time, I was like, it would be better if you were in Atlanta. She replied, what do I need to do? I was like, excuse me? She was like, what do I need to do? And I was like, you don't need to do anything. I got it. And that started the process of me going back to Atlanta, finding real estate agent for my mom, and then having to get people to help her organize and pack things so she can move to Atlanta. And here in Atlanta, I had to find a new home. A home where my mom could have her own space, the space that she had in her own house, but in a situation where I'm really close by. I'm really close by and I can check on her. So that started this process. So anyway, I found this house that I'm in now. I was looking for this perfect situation, and this house that I'm in now, thank God, you know, it had this basement that had 20-something foot ceilings with windows all around the basement looking out, right? So it wasn't underground, just looking out. And I was like, this is it. And it wasn't finished. So I had to finish that basement, get a budget together, hire contractors, finish that basement. And thank God my mom has 2 bedrooms, washer dryer area. Her kitchen's bigger than my kitchen that I have here. And she has her space, backyard, her own entrance, X, Y, and Z. And I remember when the contractors were working on finishing the basement, I said, hey, outside of her entrance, I want these steps that go up, that lead right up to the garage, you know? And the contractor said to me, I was gonna make it a ramp. And I was like, no, I want the long steps. And he said, when your mom gets older, don't you think it'll be easier if you need to use a wheelchair or anything like that? And I was like, no, like my mom is fine. You know what I'm saying? I was like, no. And he was like, it could be a good idea to get the ramp. And I thought about it and I was like, okay, do the ramp. Whatever, do the ramp. That's fine. Do a banister and we'll walk up the ramp instead of steps. I was like, fine. Fast forward to today, my mom now has trouble going up that ramp. Thank God it's a ramp. Thank God it's a ramp. Did not see this coming. I spent the last 6-ish years being my mom's caregiver. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it that I would be taking care of my mom? My mom, thank God, she can cook for herself right now, but she's weaker and she has Parkinson. She was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And one of her hands shakes a little bit. But over time, I had to get her a walker. One time she fell outside, she was walking, and those things that are in the parking spaces, so the car does not back up too far. It'll like, your wheels will hit it and you'll know like you went far enough. She was walking back to our car. We were out with the girls and we were walking back to the car and she didn't see that thing down there and she fell and she cracked some teeth in her mouth because she fell hard. So ever since then, she's been terrified of falling again, terrified. That level of being terrified makes you cautious about everything. You don't even move your legs the same way. You don't walk the same way. When she goes outside, it's an event because she is worried about falling. So anyway, I got her a walker. I got her a walker for indoor. I got her a walker for outdoor. Over time, like, I was like, I found a doctor for her and all this good stuff being here in Atlanta. And I was like, telling the doctors, call me. I'll take the calls, blah, blah, blah. And then my mom fell again. She fell in the house. I was right upstairs because she's right downstairs, right? So I can always check on her and see her. But she has her own space, her own entrance and X, Y, and Z. We have privacy, you know, we each have privacy, X, Y, and Z, but I can go right there. She was doing something with the microwave, cleaning the plate in the microwave, climbed up on something and ended up falling off of that chair that she climbed up on and broke her wrist. So now I had to take my mom to physical therapy, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And one day I was at the physical therapy place and the lady behind the counter was like, are you your mom's caregiver? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, just you? And I was like, yeah. And she said, I pray that my son cares for me the way you care for your mom. And I was like, thank you. And she was like, oh my gosh, you just don't see that. You just don't see that. But the thing is, I'm my mom's only child. There is no doubt, no hesitation, no bother. I'm going to take care of my mom, period. I'm going to take care of my mom. There's no question about it. There's no heartache about that. Period. I don't know how else to end that. Like, it is what it is. Now, the funny thing is, I never saw this. I never saw this in my future, that I would be helping my mom or taking care of my mom, going grocery shopping for her, taking her to her appointments. She had to have cataract surgery in her left eye. Now she's going to do the right eye. And it's a lot of appointments. It's eye drops 4 times a day before the surgery and 4 times a day following the surgery for a certain amount of time. But I still get to play my tennis. I still hang out with my daughters. I still get to hang out with my friends. I feel like nothing is a hindrance for me. I don't feel like my life is whatever. And I thank God for that. But I don't know where this goes. There's some days where I feel like, wow, I have to figure some things out. Like I had to end up getting a wheelchair for my mom because of that ramp. It's harder for her to walk up the ramp. And when we go to the appointments, instead of her walking super slow with her walker and being afraid of falling, the wheelchair now, she'll get out and I'll sit her in a wheelchair and we'll go to the appointments. But I keep having to think about what's the next steps to make my mom comfortable, to make sure she has what she needs, X, Y, and Z. And I was just here filling out these papers because she's getting ready to have surgery on the right eye for her right cataract. And because she wants to be able to see, right? I think about these things and I'm like, yo, whatever you need, Mom. I would hate that I get older and there's things that I can't do that I want or I want done and I just have no way of doing it. So it's not a perfect situation. I'm not the perfect caregiver, but I want to make sure my mom is good. She has her TVs downstairs. She got her place is clean. Like all of that's important to me. So even though she can cook, I bring her meals several times a week to fill in the gaps so she doesn't have to cook every day. Just these things that I'm making sure that I do. On my calendar, I have these events that I put in red, right? Those are the things that must be done, right? And that's how I was filling out the paper today for my mom's surgery next month. I'm doing it today just to make sure it's all straight, right? But I never knew I would be here. Never knew I would be here. I never thought about taking care of my mom. The same way when I was younger, I never even thought about, being a homeowner. Because I was running around, rapping, doing all this stuff, being Shawn, being Fresco, and you just don't think about things. Life is just happening. And then you find yourself here. Every once in a while, I pray that my daughters or one of my daughters will take care of me for things that I might need when I get older. And I wouldn't want to burden them, but just one of them to just check on me. Because, man, I can't imagine if my mom was still in New York by herself in that house, trying to walk down the stairs. She can't walk up and down stairs. She cannot. I've had all the physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists. I've scheduled all these people to come by and visit, and now we have a home care person, and she's here 3 times a week. If I'm away for a long weekend or an extended stay, I have the home care person. But who saw this coming? Maybe you're listening to this and you have somebody you know or somebody you're taking care of or you've thought about some of this before. I'm just handling it week by week. Sometimes I see my mom and I'm like, man, she is losing weight so quickly, or she is so weak. I have to open the orange juice bottles or her apple juice bottle or whatever. And I'm like, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to see that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to see that because my mom was a registered nurse for 35-ish years, taking care of people, right? Like doing the thing. Doctors would ask her things and she would help them. And anyway, was just reflecting on me trying to stay on top of not just the things that I want to do and still accomplish in my lifetime, but making sure that my calendar is set up for my daughters and set up for when Sydney has her tennis tournaments and set up for when Grace is in town coming home from school, or if she calls and needs something, or if Tabia calls me and wants to talk about something that she's working on for work or whatever, and work myself and make sure my mom is straight, keep these appointments straight. So I go to doctor's appointments. When we set up a new appointment, I put it on my calendar right there at the doctor's appointment so I don't forget, right? We're never late. We're never late. I get my mom to the doctor's appointment, make sure she gets her blood work done, X, Y, and Z. But if you know someone or if you're in that situation, I send peace and calmness and blessings to you, because it's not for everybody to do this. And again, I'm not complaining. I feel like I'm an organized person, and my life has been set up this way to be organized. Everything that I've done, work-wise, to being efficient, has all landed here. So I can manage these things with my kids and my mom and myself, still have a life, playing tennis, hanging out, whatever. But yeah, I wish you excellent guidance if you are in a similar situation. Because our parents and people in similar situations need that. You know what I'm saying? You can't just leave them. You can't just leave them. You know what I'm saying? They need that. So don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. You got to go get something for them, get it. They need some extra help, figure it out, man. You know what I'm saying? Make it so that they're comfortable. They need to be comfortable. They need to be comfortable. Whatever shows they want to watch, whatever. My mom loves cheesecake. I'll be getting cheesecake all the time. You know what I'm saying? That's the least. That's the least. You know what I'm saying? What kind of food you want, Mom? Whatever you want, I will bring it. You know what I'm saying? That's the least. That's the least. Me getting this paperwork done here today, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, making sure like it's all set up so there are no problems when she goes to have her right eye surgery. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's my dear mama. Yup, we're good and just making it happen. All right. Peace.
What? Thanks for checking out Shawn Conrad Unscripted. Don't forget to subscribe, share this with a friend, and follow me at The Life of Shawn C. Until next time, keep building your best life.
We represent. Relax your mind if you're extra tense. Catch this bug like Spidey sense and bounce to the beat 'cause it's excellent.